Today I'm joined by someone who's not only a huge Coronation Street fan, but recently had the ultimate Corrie experience. Alpar won an online auction last year, which gave him the rare opportunity to explore the set, see some live filming, and get a personalised tour of the studios. Al, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, I'm amazing. I'm really excited to be here.
It is lovely to have you. I'm really pleased when I heard that you won this auction last year because we'd mentioned it on the podcast, hadn't we? And it's really lovely that one of our listeners got it.
Yeah, that's how we found out about it. My partner and me, we were listening to it. I think we were driving, and I didn't think anything of it. I was like, I'm too skint to try any auction.
Hmm.
Um, and then he brought it up a couple of days later, and I think February asked your lovely Facebook group, does
Hmm.
anyone have the link to it? So he looked at it, and unbeknownst to me, it was a Christmas present that he was bidding
Oh.
on, and yeah.
So how did you feel when he presented this gift to you?
Well, first of all, I was like, mate, we've just been to America like September, so we were already skint from that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what the final bid was, but I knew, this it was a once in a lifetime
Mm.
opportunity. We've gone on the set tour, and you just get to see kind of the outside set,
Yeah.
see a couple of the exhibition space, and that's it, which is amazing. But it was kind of anger in the beginning. I was like, "Oh, you stupid man! You should have saved your money." And then once I accepted it, I was like, bloody hell, it's an amazing
Yeah.
opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What were you
yeah,
most looking forward to before you went?
do you know what it was to get us to see the sets, and to see them on a day when they are filming in them as well? Because I've always been into TV and film, so I'm very interested in the production side of it.
Mm.
But it was the watching them film that got me, just because I thought it must be so surreal to watch a scene in however many months
Mm.
and be like, I was standing like a few meters away when this was being filmed, and even if you watch it again, if it's an iconic scene,
Mm.
to always be able to be like, I was a few steps away when that
Yeah.
scene's being filmed.
It's good, and you'll probably like notice some different things when it comes onto air, like maybe any lines that were cut, and yeah, because we've obviously had that experience as well. I'm sure even if we were, a spoiler podcast, I'm sure you couldn't tell us what you saw anyway. But I mean, I'd be interested to know, was there anything that surprised you about the filming process?
Um, Firstly, how many people there are there? Like it's genuinely such a big production, and there are so many different elements to it. So it was just like the amount of people there. Obviously I can't say. I honestly thought because they had visitors, they'd have us there on a day when they were filming something. Say character A and B walking from the Rovers to the shop,
Yeah.
doing a little exhibition, not exhibition, talking about what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but what we got to see film, and bear in mind, it could be a dream sequence for all I know. We didn't get the full context of it, but what we actually got to see film was, and I don't want to overhype it, but it's going to be for the characters involved. It is going to be a life changing
Wow.
thing. I
Oh,
believe
brilliant.
it. If it's not a dream sequence, which it
Yeah.
possibly could be.
Oh, so and are they like 8 weeks in advance, are they?
I believe so. Lee Rayner, which showed us round, we met him at the start. He said
Hmm.
it fluctuates, but yeah, it's between 2 months to 3 months, depending on
Yeah. Yeah.
logistics.
Oh, that's so exciting. I bet you can't wait to actually see how it is on the screen. So talk me through your day. What happened when you got to the studios?
So, well, first of all, we arrived because we were coming from North Wales. We left plenty of time, so we got there really early. We thought we'd go for a walk around Media City. I have this little ritual every time we go there. There's a TARDIS, there's a police box in
Yeah,
the
I know.
BBC buildings, so I
I know
always
what you
have a
mean.
photo with that when we go there. And we saw Tim Metcalf, and he was just in his
Oh,
civilian clothes. He was just going for a
yeah.
coffee, and at that point, I was like, oh, I don't want to go up to, don't want to disturb him. Yeah. So just kind of like did the whole awkward smile thing as he was walking past, and he awkward smiled back.
Yeah.
And so we got an email from Sophie. So she was Lee Rayner's assistant.
Hmm.
telling us to get there for 12. And we were still very early, so it was must have been about 11:30 or something, and we were meant to go to the visitor centre.
Hmm.
And we thought, do you know what? Shall we just go there early and we'll just have a little sit for half an hour? So we went there, and fair play, they took us as soon as we arrived. They took us straight
Oh,
to
that's nice.
the meeting. So it
Yeah.
was kind of in our brains thinking, oh, we're gonna have a little sit down, gear ourselves up. And then as soon as we walked in, they were like, you know, it started. And we were like, oh my God. And no, it was great. So the visitor centre and the lovely security team, in a good way or a bad way, they kind of just let us on to the lots. They said,
Hmm.
go to where Weatherfield General is, go
Yeah.
into the reception there. So if you've been on the tour, you go through the doors up to the cinema. We
Yeah.
just went through the doors straight out to the back of the car park. And it was weird because we were unsupervised and we were just like,
You could have done anything. You could have hidden away somewhere or pinched something or
literally, we were like, I mean, there's probably plenty of cameras there watching
yeah,
it, but
yeah.
we did just go straight to where they said where the general set.
Yeah.
Um, and another one, Gemma was there. Gemma was in
Oh,
costume as well.
yeah.
Stood outside just talking to another member of the production. And me and my partner were just looking at each other, not wanting to say anything, like, oh my God, like, this is so surreal. I went to the little reception area, and they had loads of awards there. We looked at those. I got to hold a BAFTA,
Oh,
probably for the first or last time in my life. Lee Rayner, when he came down, opened the cabinet so I could hold it. I've got a little pic of me holding it. Um, so yeah, that's how we got in.
hmm.
Sophie came down to meet us, and she was lovely. Yeah, they were all lovely. And when she was taking us upstairs, then Kevin Webster walked down the stairs, and again in
Wow.
costume. Yeah, and it was just so like surreal, just seeing these people
Yeah,
walking past.
yeah. Especially in
I was,
costume, like you said, you saw Tim Joe Dettine in his civvies, but to see them actually in costume, that must have been super surreal.
mm. But obviously they're working, they're going about their day, so I didn't
Yeah.
want to disturb them either. So it was just that awkward smile again, and got to go into the production office, which is huge. Again, you don't think it's going to be that big,
Mm.
and yeah, that's where we met Lee Rayner. We had a lovely little chat with him.
Hmm. So, just for the sake of the listeners, Lee Rayner, what can you tell me about his role? I know he doesn't work on Coronation Street anymore, does he? He's moved to Hollyoaks, but what was he when he worked on
Yes.
ITV?
So basically, I'm not sure exactly what his job title is, but he's basically in charge of all aspects of like the production
Mm.
in terms of like the sets, the filmings, the more the logistical sides of it
Yeah.
as well. I think, and he's worked on a lot of. He's worked on Coronation Street since 2011, so they
Okay.
still would have been in the Granada lot. And
Mm.
then worked on the bill as well, which I know you're a
Oh,
fan
yeah,
of.
I did enjoy the bill when that was back on. Yeah, cool.
So yeah, we got to speak to him little about that, and honestly, such a nice time. Could like so welcoming.
Mm.
I did theatre and drama in uni, and there was a couple of TV productions I did work experience on, and
Mhm.
sometimes they're not the friendliest people. And fair play, they've got a job to do as well,
Yeah.
and you're just kind of there. They have to entertain you, but a bit cold. So I thought,
Mm.
oh, do you know, we're going to be a hindrance. We're going to be in the way, and it couldn't have been further from the truth. He was just so kind, inquisitive. He was asking about our jobs.
Oh,
Um, Such a lovely guy, and he has a beautiful view from his office. You see the bridge from Media City, all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
lovely
you met
man.
him there. So what was next? Was it then down? Did you go onto the street, or were you into the studios, or were you more in the production area for a little while?
So we stayed there. We had a good chat for, I want to say about 20 minutes, a quarter of an hour,
Yeah.
just about Corrie in general. He spoke a lot about the Queen's visit.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
we, we were just talking about other visitors they've had, and he was talking a lot about the Queen's visit and what an amazing day that was, the logistical side of it as well,
Hmm.
other certain ideas that they had. Obviously, it was COVID was still a thing around that time, so those ideas that potentially could have happened couldn't happen,
Yeah.
just because of the amount of people that would have had to be there. Spoke to him about that,
Hmm.
and then no, we went to costumes after that.
Right.
So finished it. We were in his office. Then he walked us around the office, and I'd say hi to everyone. And they're just working. Yeah, they're like, "Who's this big tall Welshman that's like wandering around the office?" The first place we see proper behind the scenes wise was costumes,
Hmm.
which was just amazing. You saw these big rails, and instantly, like you almost, I didn't have to look at the little tag they've got saying Debbie or Carla.
You could tell.
I recognized the clothes. Yeah, so
Mm,
he was there saying, "Oh, this is Carla. This is blah blah," blah. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I know. I'm a bit of a geek." And
mm.
then we
Yeah,
went
we'd love to go
to
into costumes. We've done our behind the scenes tour a few times as well, but a lot of it hasn't been in the production area or maybe like the canteen area we've been into. But obviously Gemma would absolutely love to go in there, so I think she's going to be a bit jealous when she's heard you've taken a look in that bit.
Oh yes, yeah, and I kind of wish I'd taken more photos, but I was so just in the moment and living it and
Yeah,
experiencing it.
yeah.
And then we went to makeup then, which is just around the corner from the costumes,
Hmm.
and Colson was there.
Oh
And
yeah.
we big Craig. I'm a big Craig defender. I know like PC Craig Tinker this and that. I really like uh, Colson as well. I just think he's a lovely human
He's a
being.
really great guy, Coulson is. He's lovely, isn't he?
Oh, he was so nice. And in fact, actually, we walked in. He was just getting like small touch ups as they do. And Lee Rayner walked us in, asked permission first. Um, we were allowed to go in there, and Colson kind of took over in a good way. So we walked in, and Colson was like, "Oh yeah, so this sheet for continuity and this and that." And Lee Rayner was kind of like, "Oh, I'll leave you to it, Colson. They can stay with you." So it was lovely seeing him, and then we were let loose on the street after that.
Hmm. But
Um,
how was it? Was
so
it very different to how you get it when you go on the tour? You know, being on a filming day, did it have a bit of a different buzz to it?
yes, yeah, and almost I'd been so apprehensive or nervous about trying to make a good impression or trying to make sure you be polite and say please and thank you. I'd forgotten about the fact that we were actually going to be on the street. So when we walked there, it was just like, oh my God, yeah, we're actually on the street, aren't we? So the main difference was that it was obviously being filmed. They weren't filming on actual Coronation Street, but there were
Hmm.
things like cars parked there, vans parked there,
Right.
which isn't the case at all when you go on the
No.
set tour. It's like bare bones, just so people can get their photos. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
We got to go into Underworld, which
Cool.
is at the moment kind of its own little props thing as well. I know
Hmm.
recently they'd filmed the Platt house fire
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
inside
they
that
built.
building.
Yeah. So
Uh,
it was just a load of
um,
props piled in there when you went in there, was it?
yeah, it was just a bunch of like, and Lee couldn't find the light switch either, so I had to leave the door open. It was just a bunch of like hospital beds and like those kind of fake like medical things next to the bed,
Mm.
little poles and that. So we
Yeah, yeah.
went there, had a look around, and then we went into the cabin, but through Rita's front door, and that's just a holding area.
Mm.
So we got to go in there, and it's weird even looking out the windows
Oh yeah.
because I'm such a big fan, and I'm such living in the fantasy of the show. So when to be in this building looking out the what's meant to be the shop's window, and
Mm.
the view's the same, but I'm not in the same
Yeah.
place I should be.
Yeah.
So that was like cool. Look out as if it was coming out
Would
the
you say that
shop.
would you say that it's going to change how you're going to watch the show? It's not like spoiled it or anything, but you're going to be seeing it in a different way now when a character walks into a door and you go, "Oh, I know what's in there."
Possibly. Do you know what? I haven't actually watched it since we've been, so I've missed the two episodes that have been on just because I've been working.
Mm.
But I have been thinking that myself. Is it gonna? Am I gonna be looking out for an extra?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, certain angles
Mm.
and how they cheat it. The
Yeah.
biggest thing actually was, and I didn't. I suppose it makes sense from a viewer perspective. Was we went into Abby and Kevin's house, right? And so
Mhm.
you walk in, and from a certain angle, it looks like the set. So you've got the same photo frames or whatever. But then
Mhm.
once you walk into that house, it's basically like one giant corridor.
Right.
And obviously, I knew it wasn't real, but it was when you just see that view, it's like they're not even individual houses. How what what an illusion!
I
And then we
know.
got to walk down there, and that was like the most surprising thing. You're walking down this corridor now. So say you're going from Abby's house towards the Rovers End,
Yeah.
and it's one clear corridor, but on either side, oh, there's a bit of Abby's house and a bit of Abby's kitchen in the back. Then you walk next,
Yeah,
and
I get it.
there's a
I
bit
get it. That
bit of
must be
that
so
front door.
surreal. Wow.
It was just like, yeah, it was. And obviously, he was explaining, so we have to have this part of the set matching so when the doors open.
Mm.
And he was explaining something actually about EastEnders, about something that fans had picked up on is a lot of characters in the old days wouldn't have conversations in the doorway.
Mhm.
They'd walk out the house and close the door behind them, so you wouldn't see
Yeah.
any of the real set, which is like an empty building.
Yeah.
So he was explaining how they've designed it on certain angles so they can film that way, and then it'll match the interior set that's on the
Mm.
soundstage. And then we ended up in the Rovers, uh, which
Oh.
again is the exact same thing. A bit of Betty's portrait and that, but
Mm.
for the most part, it's just a bunch of sofas and chairs.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because they do such a good job of making it seamlessly look like you're walking into it, and there's probably lots of viewers that don't realize that they filmed it somewhere else.
Oh, definitely, and it just shows like kind of the illusion
Mm.
of it that they made
Yeah.
it so
Es-
seamless.
Especially because like you got Preston's Petals, Prima Donna, those are filmed in situ, aren't they? So the few are.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. We got to go to Preston's Battles actually.
Mm.
I don't want to spoil it, but all the flowers are plastic. There we go. So yeah, we came out from the Rovers, and that's when you and Gemma went on a set visit. I want to say, was it about October, September, maybe?
November we
Um,
were there last year.
November, and I saw your video, and where I wanted to go more than anything was that prop room, which is above where the medical center is.
Yeah.
And I was like, I hope we get to go there. It's not the end of the world if we don't. And I knew where it was. So when we walked in and Lee took us upstairs, I
Yeah,
was
you
like,
knew
oh
where
my
you were
God,
going.
yes, yeah. And
It's great,
it's
isn't
almost,
it? It's
oh,
amazing.
do you know what? Lee, fair play. And he had a schedule to keep. So we were going from one place to another to another. But I could have spent hours in there. I
Yeah.
honestly, if you'd have just said, you can
Leave
just
me
stay
be.
here
Come back in a
from,
few hours. Yeah.
yes. So we got to see this a cabinet. I'm not sure if you've seen it as well. As you get to the top of stairs, and it's just a bunch of like murder weapons.
Yeah, yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? A crowbar, you got planks of wood, you got knives.
Oh, well, I told them the
Yeah.
knife was there that killed Phelan,
Yeah.
and it was a bit weird. I was getting a bit more comfortable with Lee then, and a bit more comfortable. Can I take a photo of this and that? So I asked, can I take just a photo of that knife? And he was like, yeah, go for it. So I took a close up, and I told him I had this. When I used to do like more acting and things, when I graduated theatre and drama, I had this. It was when the Phelan storyline was kind of at its height, and I had this
Mm.
because I'm bald as well. I had this story where if I was to come to the show, I'd be Phelan's like long lost son or something, and I told this theory to Lee, yeah, and he was like, "Oh yeah, possibly." But they both him and I forget her name, the woman that designs these props to look real, but they're actually foam. They couldn't say like anything bad about the gentleman that acts Phelan.
Yeah, Conor
Um,
McIntyre.
Con Mack said they said he was one of the best people they've both ever had the pleasure
Yeah.
of working with. They were saying like such a nice man, such an amazing man, which is
He is. He's a
it,
real top
it.
bloke.
But do you know when you admire a character, it's when you hear something wrong said about it, it's almost a bit disheartening. So to hear them say
Mm.
something such amazing about Connor, it was like, oh, thank God! Like,
Yeah,
no, I
yeah.
was in the right to like him.
So what were some
Um,
of your other favorite props that you saw in the prop store?
Oh my God, there was so many. There was so a lot of like photo collages. So
Hmm.
they've got these big like almost as if you'd have in an office like a board where they just stick the photos to, and then they can take them out, put them in a frame, put them in a certain set. They were all up on this board, and it was almost I want to say like a museum almost.
Yeah.
Going back decades into the show.
Mm.
So I just kept looking at those and some already like in the frame. Um, oh, I couldn't tell you. There's so much to take in
Mm.
during our small little walk around there.
Yeah.
I would probably say the murder cabinet.
That's pretty cool. A lot of the stuff that's there is fairly innocuous, and you wouldn't necessarily recognize it, would you? Because it's just, like a fan or some plates or whatever, and then you see something and go, ah, I know exactly what that is. It's
Oh,
great.
exactly. And the
Yeah.
fact, like, some obscure things, like, I don't know, like a candle or whatever,
Mm.
um, it gets reused if it's not in a permanent
Yeah.
set.
Yeah.
They'll use it then and put it there again to save money. Yeah,
Yeah. Did you get to go out of the side door, which gives you then the view over the street?
yeah, we did. It was amazing. It was, and that's almost like a classic Corrie shot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Again, which you don't get to do on the tour. You don't get to do any of this on the normal tour. Yeah, we
Mm.
got to go out there, and again, because they weren't filming on actual Coronation Street, or in the Ginnell area, it was just like looking down there, almost as if,
Mm.
oh, this could be real, do you know what I mean? I could see
Yeah.
someone. This would be a good place to see someone having an affair in the Ginnell or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Where next? Was it the studios after that?
So we no, we left then the medical centre downstairs. They use it for a lot of hospital scenes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we left. We had to go back down then. Again, I couldn't stay on that roof all day, and
Mm.
that's I have to be very careful now. So we came out from the builder's yard,
Yeah.
and that's the area um, where some filming was happening, or adjacent to that area
Okay.
where filming was happening. So before we went on to see the filming, we went to the police station.
Hmm.
And because filming was happening close to that, there was a lot of the production staff in there. So you had makeup, hair, and they had like screens in front of them watching the scene being filmed. So for continuity wise, keeping notes on certain things, making sure everything
Yeah.
looks okay. We got to go past all these people again, and they're just there working. And
Mm.
I have to like squeeze past them to go upstairs to the Chariot Hotel,
Yeah.
but they were all dead nice. Um, uh, Chariot Square upstairs, and there was I think something had just been filmed there. I was getting ready to be filmed there. There was a
Hmm.
lot of these props
Yeah. Yeah.
about about the area. So that was interesting. Again, it's I can't say so much. There's these certain props about which makes you think is a
Hmm.
character connected to this props.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I didn't ask. I didn't want him to say anything, and then went back down then to. Oh, am I allowed to say where it was being filmed? Do you think? Can I?
Yeah. I think. Yeah. I reckon you can
Uh,
probably say that.
yeah, so it was being filmed in the precinct. So if you've been on a
Okay.
tour,
Yeah.
it is just behind where the tram stop is,
Sure.
and round the corner from the police station. So it was the precinct area that was being filmed,
Right.
um, and that's when we saw what was happening. We were like, "Oh, like,
Oh, I can't
oh,
wait. I cannot wait.
okay." And all he did was like look at me and Kieran's faces and be like, "Oh," and he went like, "Shh, shh," like quiet. Whether that was quiet in the moment because they were filming or quiet in general,
Don't tell anyone.
I took it as both. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we watched the scene being filmed there, and we
Mm.
got to go into this really high tech little van. It sounds a
Oh,
bit dodgy, but let me explain. There's like a production suite, but it looks like basically a van, a very
hmm.
nice van. With the van, it's almost like a Hollywood movie. The van slides open, and there were three people in there, and the director was there, and I don't remember his name, but he was very nice, and they
Hmm.
had all the screens up. So that was his view, and it was obviously that
Oh,
we
interesting.
yeah, we three got in the van, and I'm a bigger guy anyway, so I was kind of thinking, oh my god, they closed the door then just so they can see the screens in terms of how a viewer would watch it at home. So they have that the environmental factor, so they get to watch it fully like that. Obviously, if you're watching it on a screen outside and it's a bright day, it might look okay from there, but then when you take the actual footage, the contrast or something might be off. So it was kind of like a directorial little suite in this van. And funnily enough, there was a shot happening, and he hadn't yelled cut yet, but a member of production just like scooted by like that.
Yeah.
And he was showing you how to reset all this scene just because that one production person had like walked past like that.
Whoops.
And yes, he's explaining the logistics like to us, yeah, like how much works. Because I suppose when you're watching it, and we live in such a binge culture now, you don't think of the smaller things like that.
No,
So they had to
absolutely. No, you don't. Yeah, when we went a couple of years ago and we saw scenes filmed in Gary and Maria's flat, we also got to go into a production room like that with monitors all over the place. It's crazy, and you have the two people that are like on everything. There's so much that goes into it that you don't realize because yeah, they're so seamless. It's
yeah,
very clever people working there.
oh, definitely, and even the logistics of having to reset the scene then,
Mm.
so making sure everything looked the same way. But no, that was class. It was a bit
Mm.
warm in that van, so I was glad when we were let out.
Yeah.
Um, so then we go back then onto the street, and went into Adam Barlow's,
Yeah.
which actually isn't Adam Barlow's. That's where the prison set is.
I've heard
So,
this. We've never been in there, but I'd love to see that. So what was that like?
do you know? I wasn't. I've always assumed it was a soundstage. Like you say, Preston's Petals and things. I know they're filmed inside the buildings, and so I assumed a lot of the upstairs of these buildings were just empty or maybe cast
Mm.
rooms. So when we went there and seeing it was the room where I think the last thing I saw fit there story wise was where Rob was trying to convince people that he was a good person, so he'd set up
Yeah.
this hostage thing,
Hmm.
and Bobby was there.
Yeah, I remember.
Um,
Remember it well.
so I'll say no more on the matter. But it was like that room. And you know where that like they visit and this and that. But and again, I think this was the first one where I thought on the telly it looks massive, and obviously they use certain lenses, but
Mm.
it's so small in real life, and
Is it?
I think that's and actually that one I think out of all the sets I think I thought would be so much bigger,
Mm.
but the reality of it, it's just above. So we go into Adam above Roy's Rolls, and you
Yeah, I
wouldn't
mean,
think a
there's
set
really,
like
I can imagine
that.
there's not much room there.
No, no, like you wouldn't. But yeah, the whole that prison room was there, and we got to go inside like a little cell, which was
Yeah.
lovely. Hopefully, the first time and the last time you're in the cell. Um, and then, oh, what did we do then? We left, and then it was we got to go into Sally's little greenhouse or
Oh,
conservatory.
cool, a conservatory, yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
so got to go along the
What a
street.
privilege, Al.
Oh, I did wipe my feet before going in,
I certainly
just
hope so.
just in case. Yeah, we the front door was locked, so we had to go through the back garden
Right.
um, into a little conservatory, and it was all very neat, very tidy. And then it was the same thing as the Coronation Street houses. It's one big building, so they all
Okay, yeah.
so you can go from Sally's to what was Yasmin's
Hmm.
to the Platts, which was being rebuilt.
Of
So we got to
course.
go. So we got
Post
to go
fire.
to. Oh, exactly. Yeah. I was careful actually when we came out of the because we exit through the Platts garden. I was careful to and oh no, actually, it was my partner that said this. He did like comment about, well, to be careful of any sinkholes. But I think because they filmed so in advance, I think that was off Lee's mind. Yeah, like so. I
Yeah.
don't think he got the joke, but we chuckled. Yeah, yeah. So that was good. There was currently on the show, Yasmin's house is empty.
hmm
I might have seen certain hints about
Did you?
other people moving in.
You better not
Uh,
say. You better not say. But maybe you can tell me later.
I won't say anything for now, but
No, no. This is just fascinating. It feels like you got a really, really thorough tour of everywhere, in and out, weaving all about the place. It's not. It wasn't just like walking up and down the street and saying, "This is it." Then.
no, oh no, not at all. And it feels. I spoke to my partner about this. It felt like we were both like we were only there for both 10 minutes and
Hmm.
5 hours because we were
Yeah.
taking in all these sites so fast. But also just again, I've used this word, just living in the moment of
Mm,
seeing all
mm.
these different parts that we never dreamed we'd actually get to see.
Yeah. So where was next after Sally's? After the
So
conservatory.
after so we went through the house out of Gales,
hmm
and then we went to the soundstage, and this is where
Right.
in my mind, this was only a few days ago, but it feels just like a complete blur in the sound stages. It was just walking in, seeing the taxi run, then you're in Fizz's room, Fizz's
Mm.
living room. I think we got to see all of the current major sets that were in use.
Oh, brilliant.
There was one returning set,
Uh,
which I didn't expect to return. You'll probably see it in a few months.
okay.
Um,
Okay. Intriguing.
uh, yeah, and I just didn't think it was a lovely set. I just didn't think we'd see it again. So there was that, and again, seeing certain props there that make you think, oh, this character's
Mm,
now
mm.
connected to this. It's funny actually. Lee let slip. So we went the day after Yasmin had left. So her exit was broadcast Monday. We were on the
Mm.
Tuesday, and obviously they worked so far in advance. And Lee said, "Oh, this is now." And it was currently Yasmin's, but she's left. And his face like dropped a bit, and he went, "She has left, hasn't she?" And I was like, "Oh, no, you're good. You're good. Yeah, she
Yeah,
left
yeah.
last night." So the sound stages were just all blur of walking, and they were on a lunch break now from the actual filming.
Mhm.
So it was interesting to see them in use. Essentially, there was cameras set up in certain ways, lightings on certain part of whatever set they were filming in, scripts and props about that, and it just that for me was just amazing.
Mm.
I'd be intrigued to know what they were filming that day.
Yeah, so he
In
didn't give you any context about what was going on as you were walking through then. It was you were left to your own imagination about what was happening.
Oh, definitely, yeah. None of the actors, none of the crew were there, which again was nice. I thought, oh, if they are filming, we're just gonna have to kind of go in, be quiet, maybe. But we actually got to walk through. I think, like I said, all the sets that were in use on
Mm,
all the
mm.
sound stages leading up to. And I felt so bad for Lee. He was such a nice guy, and I just kept repeating the word. This is magic. This is surreal. I couldn't think of any new words in the moment. So every time he brought us to news, I was like, "This is so surreal." I must have said it 1,000 times. Yeah, a lot of them bigger than you'd think. A lot of them
Mhm.
smaller than you'd think. The bistro, I thought. Me and my partner disagreed about this. I thought the bistro was much smaller than it was, but he thought it was much bigger than it was.
I think I feel it's bigger than I
Do
expect, actually.
you?
Yeah, and I remember when I visited the bistro before, it's helped me get an idea of the layout of it because that was always one of the sets. I wasn't sure where everything exactly was. Did you get that?
I did, especially with the front door, because before it was kind of ambiguous where the front door. There was this little
Mm.
room where they go to and they enter and
Yeah,
exit,
yeah,
but you
yeah.
don't know where the front door. So you've always not known where does the building face in relation to the street. So
Mm,
I think they've started to show that more on screen now where that door is.
mm.
But even seeing that and standing there and be like, right, so that faces down the street, which means And again, it's the TARDIS effect. And Lee even said this when we were in the Rovers, the real Rovers building. He was like, when we came out, he said, and in reality, like the kitchen would be in the middle of this street,
Yeah,
their
yeah.
back room would be here. And I was trying to think, especially in the Viaduct bistro on it. What's it called at the moment? Is it just the
Yeah, it is
bistro?
that. Yeah. No, I think it's a
Uh,
Viaduct Beach. Right.
the bistro, it was standing there thinking, would this like fit in just like this little
I know.
archway?
Surely not. Surely not.
So
Suspend disbelief. It's fine.
exactly, exactly. And do you know what's funny? It seemed like it's kind of like an in joke with them on the production as well. This kind of TARDIS
Yeah.
quality some of the sets have.
But it's like
And
how many bedrooms are there in Eileen's house? That's the big joke, isn't it?
oh, do you know what gets me? I've been watching classic Corrie, and it's funny continuity wise that they say in the terrace house sometimes like, oh, it's only a two-bedroom, but
Mm,
then in current they're like, oh no, there's three bedrooms upstairs and the
yeah.
living room. Uh, it's kind of keeping
We'll
tabs
have
on
an
that.
extension or something.
Yeah, oh, of course, had the wall knocked down, um, and so all the sets were blurred leading up to the Rovers. What going in, Michael, I was like, I'm going to try and keep a cool head. Don't be a full on geek. Don't don't be all over the place. But
No,
when we,
that's what you wanted. He was taking you on this trip of a lifetime. If you'd have just been like, oh, interesting, I think it would have been a letdown.
yeah, yeah, which he has said in the past, they've had some people come for a tour for like publicity purpose or what. So yeah, when we did say no, we actually like full on fans. He was
Yeah.
like, oh, thank God, thank God. Um, and then we went to, I think one of the last sets we saw was the Rovers, and I just let out this audible gasp. I was like, almost as if it's funny. We went to Los Angeles in September, and I'm a huge Buffy the Vampire Slayer nerd. And
Hmm.
we had this moment where went from the high school where they filmed it, and we came around the corner, and
Yeah.
it appeared, and I was being all dramatic, like, "No, no, I'm not ready, I'm not ready," and it was almost like that happened again. I was like, "Lee, oh my God, no, I'm not ready, Lee," and he was going, oh, "Are you okay, Al? Are you okay?" And I was like, "Oh my God, no, no." So we got to go onto the Rover set, and again there was certain. I think they must have been filming in there. There was certain just glasses and things out and props on the bar itself.
Hmm.
But no, that's the one where we got to just have a few minutes and just stay in that set.
Uh,
Had lovely photos, had just a look around to just touch the
mm,
set and it be tangible.
yeah.
It's funny actually. I took a photo of a camera and one of the cameras they use, and it's got the Rover's door in the background.
Hmm.
And on my Instagram, I just put it up, and I hadn't really said I was going on this tour to many people. It had
Yeah.
been rescheduled. Actually, I was meant to go February,
Oh yeah.
but it was the week they were told about the episodes going from 6 to 5,
Oh, I bet
and
that was a bit of a hectic time for them.
well, yeah, so they asked, "Oh, do you want to reschedule?" Which we did. We still went to Manchester. We had an amazing time. So I hadn't really told people
Mm,
about it in case it got rescheduled again.
yeah.
And I put
Yeah.
a photo of that camera and the amount of people. I just got loads of like new Twitter followers. People, are you joining the cast? Are you a crew member? This and that. Just, just from this one ambiguous kind of photo of a camera in the Rovers. And I was like, I can't confirm, I can't deny whether I am joining the cast. I can't speak about it. But the Rovers for me was and I said this to Lee Rain. I got, oh, this is the Mecca, though. Do you know what I mean? This is
Sure. Absolutely.
it, it's generational. And he said, I think he said this. He said that set hasn't moved from when they moved to Media City because logistically things have to move in certain sets and sometimes collapse and are resurrected. He said that one has always been in that exact spot
Mm, mm.
from when they moved to Media City
Yeah, I mean, they
10
use it
years
all the
ago
time,
now.
don't they? Use it all
Yes,
the time.
yeah.
They must need to keep going back in there.
Oh, yes. I'm glad we see more of it. I'd love to see even more of it, but there we
So
go.
and
So that
they've got the back room connects straight onto it as well, doesn't it? That's not like done for TV. That's actually
No, do you know what? I wanted to be a bit more cheeky and just go there, but then again, I want to be respectful of
cool.
if certain props were set up a certain way,
Yeah,
continuity wise.
yeah,
I
it was
did
a
have a
great
little,
set.
I had a little peek in to the living room, but I didn't go in. But yeah, Lee took plenty of photos of us behind the bar, pulling
Nice.
pints. I was scared. I asked Lee. He said, "Oh, go on, make it look like you're pulling a pint." And I went, "Is there actual beer in this?" And he went, "Oh, actually, yeah, there might be." And I went, I'll just mime like I'm about to pull a pint then."
Yeah.
So that's why in some of the photos, I'm not actually pulling the lever, just in
Oh,
case. I didn't want to make him that. Yes. Oh, actually, I think I might have skipped over something. There's been something I've not watched Corrie this week. There's something with a pillow in the taxi set with
oh,
Steve's
is this the
face on
Steve?
it.
Yeah, the Steve face pillow. Yeah, we saw that the other day. Have
Yes,
you seen that in real life?
yeah. So I just saw it. I don't think it had been on screen yet.
Mm.
So I just took a photo. It was on the chair, and he said, "Oh, hold it up." So I'm I think I'm holding it with Steve's face facing me, but that I think you still see his face on the other side as well.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
just thought it was just random prop. I thought, oh, I've never noticed this one before,
Yeah.
but there we go. So then I saw people post it on Twitter, and I was like, oh my god, that's what that was. I had no idea. Uh, so did all the interior set, finished with the
Hmm.
rovers, and then we went back into the production building then, which is the Weatherfield General set.
Hmm.
And then they were still on their lunch, and we saw so there's a holding place for all the extras,
Hmm.
little lockers, and they have like their own little place where they can eat and relax in between takes. The supporting artists, sorry, I should say. So just walk through them, and again, I felt like you'll know this, Michael. We felt like the naughty kids being escorted by like the
Yeah, I
headmaster
know what you mean. I know what you
down the
mean.
corridor. Because obviously people know him as very well respected. He's a lovely person. So they're all looking at him, then looking at us, probably being like, who the hell are these guys? So we almost had our heads down like that. And then, so this was like the end now. We had to have a sit down meal with him in the actual canteen.
Yeah,
And this is one where, you know, the main actors use
yeah.
the directors and so and so. Um, we walked in there, and the first person we saw was Kevin Webster.
Right.
Um, we went to there's a canteen bit, and there's a lovely window. There's a pool table in the end, which is dead random, and then it overlooks the street, kind of from the other end. So you're from kind of if you were from the viaduct bridge, but
Hmm.
a bit
I get it.
behind that, overlooking that. I wanted to go there to get a photo, but it was like there were people chilling there, so I didn't want to be like, "Excuse me," left them to it. And it's so fancy. I had to ask Lee. They have like this tap. And I know I'm from Wales, but we're not that archaic. There's this tap that I didn't know how to use. I was like, "How do I get the water out of it?" It was just this buttony thing. So fair play, he helped with that. So we met Kevin, and Lee introduced us. Said
Hmm.
these people have donated money to charity, won the auction. So we saw him. He was Kevin Webster. He
Was it? Was
was.
he just? Was yeah? Mike Lavelle, Kevin Webster. Not much between them, do you? From that conversation, at least.
Oh no, and uh, I was just starstruck. Yeah, like I say, I've gone to comic conventions before where you get to meet actors and things,
Hmm.
but almost you gear yourself up to it, and you know you're going to be in
Yeah.
this situation. You can have a couple of minutes to talk to them, get a photo, get them to sign something.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
this was just, and I was trying to
Yeah.
say something. My mouth wasn't working. I was just like smiling in awe at him, and he was lovely. He was like, "Oh, where have you guys travelled from?" Then I was like, "Wales," and he was like, "Oh, well, it's lovely having you here, this and that." And I think he was going back to filming
Hmm.
as we were leaving.
Yeah.
Um, and then Brian Packham, we
Nice.
saw Brian, and he's the one we actually got a good chat with him.
Oh yeah.
He must have been on an actual break from filming.
Hmm.
We had a really good chat with him.
Hmm.
He was asking, "What have you seen?" We were like, "We've seen everything," and he was like, "Oh, amazing!" And he was like, um, and then Brian, oh, I don't remember the gentleman's real name, but Brian asked Lee, oh, is there any of like the Corrie icons in? I can take them to meet them.
Yeah.
And he was like, and they were trying. He was like, oh, is Bill in? And he was like, oh no, he's not in today.
Oh,
Is Barbara Knox in? Oh no, she's not in today. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry guys, if they were in, I would have taken you to meet them. And
mm,
we were like, oh my god, no, as in we've got to meet you. Yeah, it's great to meet you. And he was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, I'm not an icon though. And we're like, oh no, you are. You're
Yeah,
like,
of course he is. Of course he is.
um, yeah, of course you are. I remember him from the Miley Cyrus movie, the Hannah Montana
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
I, I didn't want to say that. It was really nice. And he said, oh, well, I really hope you enjoy the rest of your time. And he said, oh, enjoy the food. It's amazing. And he wasn't wrong. Oh,
Mm.
my God. The food there ended up having a chili, rice and chili.
Oh,
And I was trying to be all polite and not eat messy. But honestly, it was the best chili I've had in my life. I did the polite thing. I didn't eat all of it. Um, and the chef came out to meet us as well. I don't remember his name. He was a lovely man, and he was like, "Do you want to try a bit of this, bit of that?" He brought out three mini desserts for us to try.
wow, you got the star treatment. I mean,
I know.
they must have. I think they when they invited the Queen to the set, they were just preparing for you by the sounds of it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it was, and he brought. It was like this salty caramel muffin thing that looked amazing on a little white plate, like all these like cookies and like a Swiss roll. And he brought out these little small jars of like certain creams that you could have with the dessert. And oh my god, no! I could talk about food all day. I won't. But it was a big highlight. I think it would be dangerous if I was working there because I would always be in the cafeteria. But while we were stood there ordering the food, they had a little, almost as if a canteen as in you'd have in school. You had
Mm.
to queue up. My partner turned to me and just doing the head nudge, and it was Sue Cleaver in front
No
of
way, that's
us.
cool.
Yeah, and she was.
Wow.
We didn't get to speak to her. Obviously,
Mm.
trying to be respectful that she was on
Yeah.
her break, this and that.
Yeah.
But she turned around, and me and my partner we were just like smiling at her like that. And she smiled back, saying, "Hi, you're right." Got her food, went to sit down. And when we were talking to Lee, again, we spoke to Lee for a good chunk of time at the end as well. He was saying about he's starting in Hollyoaks. We were talking about, this is what got me. Lee was really interested in us as what do you think of the early ITVX drop? What do you think of this? What do you think of that?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and I was saying, well, I like the early drop because I work in sociable hours.
Hmm.
But again, I don't watch it early though. I then put loads of spoilers online, which some people do. So
Mm.
we were talking a lot about the changing landscapes of TV. My partner actually just finished watching Yellowstone,
Hmm.
and Lee is a huge Yellowstones fan. But he hadn't watched the finale yet. But they were almost I could have left at that point. They were just full on talking about Yellowstone and about these characters. And while they were talking, Ryan, Michelle's son,
Yeah,
Ryan,
yeah, yeah.
walked in. So I think he must have been starting that time because he didn't have any of the prosthetics on.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. He's a
And
really
he's
nice
just,
guy. He's a really, really nice guy. Ryan Preston plays
oh,
him.
he's a very handsome guy. I was like, hi. But yeah, we didn't get to talk to him, but he was there, and I was smiling. And then that was it, really. I'm trying to think if we spoke about anything else in terms of we were speaking a lot just about the changing landscape
Mm, mm.
of TV in general, then, and
Yeah.
the way we consume it, and that was interesting. I think again, it was a general conversation. It wasn't in terms of like he was doing market research, but he was just generally interested in our views as
Mm.
viewers. And I have to say, after the tour, we left and we had a cheeky little photo with him. He took us back to his office and he got us a
Yeah.
bit some goodies. So we got these clear Coronation Street water bottles
Cool.
with like the logo on the side. So we got two of them. We
Yeah.
got just little Coronation Street pencils. and these like notepads, but they had ITV, the ITV
Yeah.
logo on it.
Oh,
So
what a souvenir. That's really nice.
oh yeah, we didn't expect that, a little like
No.
goodie bag. Walk then out of the building, and again, because if you go on the tour, you see there's certain photos up, but even in the production office itself, with that beautiful view looking out of Media
Mm,
City, they just have so many posters, both from current Corrie and classic moments as well. And it
mm.
really made me appreciate kind of the scale of how many people work on it, how much
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
goes into just the planning, the logistics of it as a whole. And everyone was kind, everyone was nice,
Mm,
everyone was like very pleasant. Yeah,
mm.
and again, we were gutted when it was over, but we got to see so much more than we probably expected to have
Yeah.
gone to see. And
How long were you there in total?
it must have been 2.5 hours. Because we arrived, we went in half an hour early, thinking we are just going to sit about, but they started it then, which was 11:30, and then we left about 2:05, about 2:10.
Right.
So yeah, it
They
was.
crammed so much in that time. Oh, what a day. What if you could pick one thing and say this was my absolute highlight of the day? I don't know whether that's easy or not. What would it be?
Oh, the Rovers was a big one.
Mm,
And again, because it was a working set, there was cameras and things there. That was amazing. But also, I think the filming, and I don't want to oversell it, what we saw, because again, it could not be true. It could
yeah,
be a
yeah.
dream or a vision. But and again, I'm putting other things that I saw on the tour. Um, I'm putting those in the
Mm,
context of what I
mm.
saw as well,
Yeah, of
which
course.
I don't think I can say about, which I won't.
No.
Um, so if it is what it appeared to be, I was like, right, that's gonna be a moment. I don't want to oversell it, but for us, thinking it was just going to be generic, just people walking to work,
Mm.
blah 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 blah. It was a big thing,
That's
yeah.
cool. That's brilliant. Oh, look, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It's been
Oh,
lovely hearing about this. I mean, I've been to the set a couple of times myself, but it's always fantastic to hear other people's experiences. And I love how much you had a brilliant day. I love how helpful that Lee was. It sounds like he was, a brilliant host. Yeah, that's so fascinating. Thank you so much.
thank you. And I just want to say as well, you and Gemma have created this community, and it is it's such a special thing.
Oh,
I
thank
remember
you.
I started listening. I was going through a horrible breakup, and what I would do, I just go for a walk for hours, just
Mm.
listening to this, and then joining the social media group. So yeah, you've done a really good job. You've started this great community. So props to
Oh,
both of you.
thank you very much. Thank you. That's really kind of you to say. Right. I think we better end it there then. Thank you very, very much. I'm sure everybody listening to this really enjoyed that. And I think you got them really excited about this scene that you saw filmed that I guess will appear on screen in the precinct in 7, 8 weeks' time.
Yes, yes.
Right. Well, thank you very much again and bye-bye.
Diolch yn
Ta-ra.
fawr. Ta-ra. Bye, bye, bye.